That down, guys. Let's move on to this, shall we? You know, Warner Brothers is a really interesting case study. And
September 4.
What's that?
September 4.
September 4th is when it launches. So Warner Brothers is a pretty interesting case study in the sense that when you look at where it is at the moment as a whole, as a company, it's clearly in a weakened state. The argument I make to people is that the fact that it is alive at all right now is nothing short of a miracle. When AT&T ran that company into the ground, by today it should have already been gone. On the trajectory it was on, it should have been gone and dead already. David Zaslav has saved that company up until now. Now, some people may look at some guy with bandages and a cast on his arm and 2 casts on both legs and on a walker, and you're saying, how can you say the doctor saved that guy? He's a mess. That guy literally fell out of an airplane, and everybody said he was dead. The fact that he's up and walking at all is a miracle. Maybe he'll get better, maybe he won't. But that's what David Zaslav has done. He has kept this thing alive when it should be dead. And over the past few months, we've seen some signs that maybe things are heading in the right direction. Well, according to the Hollywood Reporter, heading in the right direction they are. Warner Brothers Discovery adds 3.4 million streaming subscribers, but Minecraft and Sinners power the earnings. They go on to write about this. Warner Brothers Discovery reported second quarter earnings Thursday, turbocharged by its studio business, even as its streaming business continues on its growth trajectory and linear TV still struggling through environment. Now, of course, they're going to be separating out their linear TV stuff, but they go on to write this. The company reported revenue of $9.8 billion, up modestly from the same quarter a year ago, with net income of $1.6 billion compared to a loss a year ago. So now they're making billions in profit, and adjusted EBITDA $2 billion, up from 9%. The quarter was powered by the company studio's business, and to a lesser extent, streaming business, with studios revenue of $3.8 billion, up 55%.
Yo.
From a year ago, thanks to the performance of films like Minecraft and Sinners, as well as performance from the TV studios, thanks to the timing of some renewals, adjusted whatever was at $863 billion. Now, one of the things the article does also highlight is, like, while everything is going great here, 55% growth, $1.6 billion in profit as opposed to a loss last year, all that kind of stuff. The one area that the studio, or that the article highlights that it is still struggling, is linear TV.
What a surprise.
Yeah, what a surprise. Now, hasn't actually lost all that much because they refirmed up all their contracts with the carriers, but the numbers are down. And that's one of the reasons why they are now going to be separating the company. Now you're going to have Warner Brothers Studio, HBO Max, and then you're going to have the Discovery linear television stuff, CNN, TNT, all that kind of stuff, the parts that's struggling. They're separating out of that. But still, overall, Rob, there were a lot of people, including me, when AT&T was first announced that they were going to sell the company, that thought, and I'll just mention myself here, that doesn't matter who buys this company. Unless Disney buys it or something and just swallows it, this thing's dead. Just 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, people were saying Warner Brothers is dead. They're going to be gone pretty soon. Whatever plan they have seems to be working. The ship has been turned around. I think now, does that guarantee next year we'll have equal growth? Nope. A lot of things can go wrong. A lot of things can go wrong. Remember, this is the same company, this ownership, not AT&T. This is the same company that took HBO out of the name of their streaming service and just called it Max. One of the stupidest things ever done. They could do something just as stupid. But anyway, these are pretty good numbers. Which of the numbers, like the streaming growth, the profit, the percentage growth, which of these things is standing out to you the most?
Well, to me, it begins with, if you have good product to sell to the consumer base or the viewers or the audience, you will make money. And Minecraft, whether you loved it or not, Chicken Jockey, don't ever discount what Chicken Jockey can bring you in terms of riches, because it brought them a lot, almost $1 billion. So I would say that Warner Brothers is, and David Zaslav, since he came in, he's not been there for like decades. He's fairly new to the Warner Brothers game. And putting people like, remember at the beginning of the year, Pam Abdi and Mike DeLuca were on life support as far as their tenure.
According to
Warner
the whispers,
Brothers.
yeah.
Yeah, and then you look at what's gone on. Almost every month you had Sinners, you had Minecraft, you have F1 and Superman, even though Superman is DC Studios, but it's still under the Warner Brothers umbrella. You've got Weapons opening today. And so Warner Brothers, all of that content drives your other formats. I mean, HBO Max is going to benefit from these things. Sinners is on HBO Max now. So I would say that Warner Brothers is in a healthy place. And I think that they, what David Zaslav wanted to do for somebody who knew nothing really. I mean, Discovery was a very profitable business, but it was
small, but it was profitable.
But the fact that they've realized it wasn't great to jam everything together, that's another, I think, great move that's going to benefit them. This split of the studio, however that's going to work out monetarily. I think it's good. I think that it shows that Zaslav's leadership, he made stupid mistakes, like the HBO thing you pointed out. That was like it was like, we're going to get rid of the name Coke. We're going to call it something else. Why would you do that? We're just going to call it The Real Thing. I mean, it was just stupid. And I think now they're pivoting what a good business does, and they're leaning into things. Look, the TV business is dead. It's just going to take a while to die.
Yeah.
And I think that network television is going to change. So I think what Warner Brothers is doing on a number of levels looks good to me. And as long as let's hope they keep winning in terms of their content that they're making. And as long as that is good, it'll drive success.
You know what? A big highlight to me of good leadership is not leadership that never makes any mistakes, because all leadership will. The question is, how do you manage the mistakes? Do you double down and refuse to admit you made a mistake?
Yeah.
Or do you, you guys have probably heard me use this phrase before. I didn't coin it, but I use it a lot, is, do you have a philosophy of fail quickly? In the sense, like, look, the HBO Max thing, we all knew that was stupid. Taking out the HBO name was stupid. So what did they do? In less than 2 years, or right around 2 years, they went, you know what? That was a mistake. We're going to correct it.
If they'd watched us closely,
they would have corrected it the next day. But you know what? They gave it a chance. They said, hey, we made this decision. Let's give it a chance. Clearly didn't work. Like we said, it wouldn't work. And so they said, instead of being stubborn about saying, no, I'm not. No, they said, you know what? We made a mistake. Let's correct it. They corrected it. The Discovery merger into Max was something that I thought on paper was a decent idea, because I love watching Discovery and I loved watching Max, so I loved having both in the same place. So while I hated the removal of HBO, I kind of liked that one.
Yeah.
But you know what? Doesn't matter if you like the idea. You gave it a couple of years and you saw this didn't work. So instead of just digging in your heels and saying, let's make it work, you go, this idea didn't work. Let's move on from it. And now they're separating it out. That's what good leadership does. You're in all the million decisions you make in a year, a certain percentage of them are bound to not work out. The question becomes, how do you then manage those mistakes? Do you double down on them? Do you just exasperate them? Do you make them worse? Or do you just simply step them back and make corrections? And the fact that they're doing that, geez, I saw somebody in the live chat mention this. I still remember when they canceled Batgirl.
Right.
And everybody said, this is going to kill the studio. It's like, no, they probably actually saved the studio by canceling Batgirl. Anyway.
But I would say they also made, look, the fact that Acme versus Coyote or Coyote versus Acme was sold to ketchup. And right. while the Looney Tunes movie didn't set the world on fire, I think Coyote versus Acme is going to probably, in my mind, it's going to be a hit. I'm really curious to see where their partnership with Apple's going to go. Because Apple's made F1. They spent a lot of money on it. They had a lot of great brand deals, and Warner Brothers came along and said they partnered up to release it. Like Apple, they spent over $200 million for Killers of the Flower Moon. And what did that get them? But F1 is
and don't forget Napoleon.
And Napoleon
and
as well.
That get, but they didn't give up on it.
No.
And they followed through and they made F1 and it's been a windfall.
And you had F1 is a Jerry Bruckheimer production.
Yeah.
And you have one of the greatest F1 drivers of all time was also a producer on that movie. And I think that Apple itself realized, oh, you mean we don't have to make movies at a loss? We can actually make our money back? I mean, that says a lot. Now, I don't think they're going to want to spend as much money as they spent on F1 on every one of their movies, but it's a great business decision, and Warner Brothers might have just got themselves a hell of a partner, because if they're working in tandem now with Apple, I think that could only bolster. You've got basically two studios working through one, and if DC Studios continues to do well, Warner Brothers has two theatrically minded producers in Apple and in DC Studios that are feeding into its bottom line. That's pretty impressive if they can continue that kind of growth, because they didn't include F1 or Superman in these numbers.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What stands out to you most about these numbers? Streaming growth, overall like 55% growth on the studio side, 1.6 billion in profit operating as opposed to a loss that they took last year. Everything seems to be going in the right direction. They're not there yet. Warner Brothers is not a healthy patient yet. It's still in ICU, but I mean, things are looking good. Whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.